So welcome to everyone. Today's we are going to talk about Python Untold modules as part of the DevSprint 010. This is happening in the every week. Okay. So what is our agenda? Today we are going to discuss about very important modules called logging, base64, collections, statistics, glob. Okay. These are the 5 modules you may use in your projects in the different places. It may required. Okay. For example, logging, which is very important module, you have to use in your project development, whether you are the AI or data science guy, web development guy, or automation guy, tester, whatever the role you play in the Python or in the Java world, whichever the language you use. So you have to use the logging. So logging module, which is very important in to build the it's give you the idea like where you get stuck, what is the important of the how to debug the issues and all. It's going to help you. Okay. And the base64, which is one of the encryption, or I can't say it's encryption, it's encoding technique. So we can use encoding and decoding techniques base64. And the collections, which is one of the most popular module in Python. And if you go to the interview, definitely people ask you one of the question from the collections. Collections is very important. Even if you say that I'm the data scientist guy, I'm a machine learning engineering guy, whatever it is, first they will check your Python skills, right? So as part of Python skills, collections is very important. There is a data types, there is extendable data types or containers, we can say that in the collections. Statistics, which is one of the most important the module in Python, and the people who wants to do something on the data science projects and all, they may use the probability, mean, and many things they can use it. Statistics is very important, and you may ask the question. There is a NumPy, SciPy, and there are a lot of modules like pandas and all there. So why I need to go for the statistics? So will talk about this statistics in shortly. I will give you an idea why we need to go for the statistics. And the last one is the GOLOB, that's called glob, which is very important for the Unix file system. The people who is working on the Unix, they may use it for this. Let's go in detail of one by one. We'll understand that what these modules is going to help with respect to the real-time projects. The first one is logging. So what is the use of logging? What is the purpose of logging, right? So logging means the tracking events that happen when some application runs. The logging is very important for the application developing or debugging and running. If you don't have any logging record in your programming, for example, there is some issues are happening, that how you are going to track it, right? So if you want to detect what is the root cause of the issues, we need to be use the logging, right? So it will, if you don't have logging, it is going to consume a lot of time, right? With logging, we can easily track the errors where it is occurring and all. So in the Python is provides also the module is called the logging module. No need of any external libraries. Python itself is having this logging module. We just import logging module, then we can use. What this module contains? This module contains 3 things. One is the constants, methods, and classes. The constants, which is mainly important when you are going to set what is the log level, right? And the methods, like you can see on my screen, there are 2 things which I listed. The class is the logger, log record, handler, and formatter. So when you want to print some log in the log file, so you have to use this logger class mainly, and the handler, like which type of issues you want to handle. So those kind of things also be there in the handler. Sometimes the client may ask you to show the format of the log in the log file. So formatter is also we can use. This is also class under the logging, so which we can use it for the building the logs. And what type of the methods are there in the logging? There is a info, error, critical, and the log method, set level, and warning. So there are different types of the logs we can show. Some methods like will give information about log sentences. For example, when you are building an applications, you may want to give a message like warning message. Then you go for warning method. When there is an error, we can go for error. And there is also an exception method inside this logging class. Sorry, in the logger class, in the logging module, we can also use for that implementation. just for information, who is logged in, who is logged out. If you want to show that kind of information, we can go for the info module. At the end of this slides, I'm going to show you some practical examples. You may get an idea how it can be implemented, right? So next one, in the logging, there are different levels of, there are different constants are there, right? So we can see that there are different constants are there. How these constants can be defined. So for example, you have debug. So there is a debug, only developers can use this debugging the code and all. So for that, the Python has given these constants to some values. So debug is 10 and info is 20, warning is 30, error is 40 and critical is 50. Then ask me, what is this? What are these values? These values are the threshold values. If you want to set a threshold value, so you have to define it. So by default, these numerical values will be there. So that means debug is less than the information is less than warning, something like this. Okay, I will show you simple code. You may get some idea like hot purpose. We can use these constant logs. So we can easily set the log level, but remember these levels are always represented in the uppercase letters because these are the constants. As I said before, the logging module contains the constants and modules and methods and classes. So these are all the constants which are defined in the uppercase letters. Constants always defined in the uppercase letters. The next one is the base64. What is base64? I think many of the projects we are using the base64, right? For example, if you want to encrypt a password, or if you want to do something like changing the converting your password into the something bytecode format and all, so we can use the base64 module, so which is mainly used for the encoding and decoding techniques. And especially if you want to convert a string into the different bytecode formats, we can go for this one. And this is actually coming with a lot of versions, basically, like, okay, there are many versions are there, like base 16, base 32, base 64, base 84. It's basically like converting the 64-bit format. Okay, so basically base 64 encoding, it is a type of conversion of the bytes to the ASCII characters. And if you can see, there is some list of data which I have given: 26 uppercase letters and 26 lowercase letters, 10 numbers, and plus and slash and new lines. So for example, assume that we have one string, special string. You want to convert that into the encrypted string or encoding strings, we can use this technique. Okay, I will show you one simple code like how we can do the encoding and decoding with respect to the coding and all. We can see that. So basically, like we are going to use the get the ASCII value of the each character in the string and compute 8-bit binary equivalent to the ASCII values and convert 8-bit character to the 6-bit. So basically, like it's converting the bit value from the one to the another. Basically, we can do this way. So every character will be converted. The next important module here, I can talk about statistics. So what this module is, the many data science people, they use the statistics a lot, even machine learning people also. Okay, so Python itself has one module called statistics. They introduced it from the 3.4 version, and this module mainly provides the all methods which are related to the mathematical and statistics and numerical values, like whatever you are seeing on my screen, it provides. Now you can ask me the question, if you go to the Python documentation, Python itself is saying that this module is not intended to be a competitor for the NumPy and SciPy. It's basically like it's created for the people who is working on the graphical and scientific calculators. If you want to build something scientific and graphical calculators, you can use the statistics module. Or else, if you are the complete data science guy, you are the complete statistic profession you have, then you can go for the NumPy and SciPy. It's up to you, like which we can decide it. And what kind of methods are there here, I'm going to show you in the next slide. And here, basically, like when there is an exception occurs, we can see that statistics error. So these are the errors which, this is the only one error which encounter when you are working on the statistics. And also you can look at this, what kind of modules or methods, what kind of the methods are there in the statistics. In the statistics, we have the mean and geometric mean, harmonic mean, and the median low, standard deviation. And You know, right, in the data science field, there are two types of data. One is the sample data, another one is the population data. When I say population data, which is stocks, which is mainly refers to the complete data in the from the physical database. When you want to work on this some portion of the data, then we can go for the sample data. So the basically these statistics people who's working on this data science for the analysis, they mainly go for the two types of data, two versions. When either they can go for the sample data or population data. So if you want to work on the population data, if you want to find the standard deviation on the population data, and there we have the population STP, STDEV. So you can find the standard deviation. If you want to work on the variance type of data, we can go for the variance method. So these are the methods basically which represents the like uh, like statistic computations, whatever you want to build up, right? So if you can look at this Python 3.8 version, which was launched in the last year, the fmin is also one of the functions they introduced in the 3.8. So this is very important. Fmin, F stands for fast. So if you want to calculate the of the faster modules, when we can go for the fmin. So fmin will produce the faster way of executing this module, which is going to be helpful a lot. The next one, very important module, as I said, this module is called collections, which is mostly the people will ask you in interview questions. Definitely the question may comes like this: what is a named tuple? What is a counter? How we can use this counter in our classes, right? There is an order dictionary and a default dictionary. There are a lot of things will be there, right? So this Python collections module, it is mainly dealing with the different type of containers. A container is an object that is used to store different objects, like how we are seeing this different objects can be stored, like list and all, we have it, right? Like that we can store it to different types of the objects. So if you want to perform the by using the basic data types like list, set, tuple and all, we can't achieve some of the features. But by using these a special container data types like this dq, double-ended queue, chain map, counter, order dictionary, default dictionary, by using this we can able to solve some of the problems. Okay, I'm going to show you that how we are going to achieve those problems with respect to the like how we can get into that level and all. We can going to see it. And the last module as part of these slides, so that is called glob, which is very important for the Unix people. Someone wants to develop the patterns. If you want to know in particular directory how many files are there, if you want to retrieve the entire files from the particular directory, we can use the glob, which is also like from the Python software itself. We don't want to go for the extending or like what I can say that we cannot go for the third-party tools. By Python itself is providing this module to work on the Unix system basically. So what this module can help you, right? If there is a, for example, assume that there is a folder. In that folder there are a lot of files are there. If you want to know the how many files are there and what are the files list, if you want to retrieve, for example, there is a folder called 200 files are there. You want to know how many text files are there, how many PDF files are there, and this module is going to help you to retrieve the data, which is really important. You can see on my screen, find the list of file using the wildcard in the single directory. We can use the star symbol. If you want to find the like multiple files, and there is something called multiple directory. So we can use these different types of functions, how to retrieve this data, which is going to help you a lot in this case. So let's go with the one simple programming one by one, and we'll see that how we are going to achieve it, all these programmings. So I'm going now and show you that little programming, that how we are going to work with this. I'm using the VS Code and to see the practically how we can achieve this. These are all very, very simple programs. Everybody can easily understand it. First, I will go with the creating the encoding techniques. Let's see this. I'm going to create a new folder in my system. Let me create a folder called, okay, Python modules. I'm creating now. Click on this and just open the folder, and it will open the new folder. So here I'm going to create a new file. So let's go first thing is, let's go to the first, we are going to create a module called base64 and creating the encoding techniques. Let's see one by one. First is base64 and the square demo.py. Let's enter. So if you want to use this module, see whatever the modules which I mentioned so far, all these modules are which are related to the Python only. So you don't need to go and like do the any installation. By default it is there in the Python. Let's go with this. First I'm going to import base64 and use the password encryption. For example, import base64, which is the module from the Python, and assume that you have some password string. There is a password string is equal to randomly we can give some name or some password. For example, dollar percentile, and I can say that this is my password, or like you can enter something like this. Okay, this is my password. Assume that this is my password, this is password, and I want to convert this one into the encoding format. So before going to convert into the, like actually you are using the base64, you just convert. The string contains a method called encoding. So we can use encode method, there we can pass. So what I'm going to pass here, encoding for. So basically what kind of encoding you want to do it, that you have to tell it. So you are going to do the encoding is called the ASCII. You can just mention here, right? The password string dot encode. So you are encoding into the ASCII format. So that will be converted into the bytes. Okay. So once you apply this encoding, the result will come into the password. You can say that the password underscore bytes. So first you have string, the string you are converting into the bytes, and this byte information you are giving to the base64. So we can use base64 is a module which I imported dot, then we can use the base64. This is also will comes with the base64, like base64 encoding and decoding. So base64 is the module which contains the two methods, the base64 decode and base64 encode. So I'm going to use the base64 encode. It will convert this entire into the 64-bit format. So I'm going to pass this entire password bytes. First you have a string, that string is converted into the bytes, and that bytes you are providing to the encoding. So finally this is going to be like base64 data. Okay, so let's take this data, and this data basically what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to do something like print this. For example, if I'm going to print this, what will happen? So if I'm going to print this data, let's see this, what is the output of this? So we have a string we are giving this. So I got something like this. What is this? This is something bytes is converted. If I want to convert into the string, how can I do it? Can I use the str here? Can I use the str? Okay, let me go and use this. There is a str function. We have it in the Python, which I'm going to use. Let's see this. If I'm going to use this, let's go to this. I got something still bytes only. How this can be decoded? So as I told you, right, we can encode and also we can decode it. So I'm going to use the function called, okay, let me use. So this data, which I'm going to pass to the like decode functions, let's go and use, and we'll see that how it's going to be converted. As of now, the value which you are seeing, that is the ASCII format. So it's ASCII bytes which you are seeing. So let's go and use something called decode, then it will solve our problem. So there is a base64 dot, and instead of base64, I will use this data only I want to convert, right? Let's use this data dot and decode. In this decode, I will say that convert to the same ASCII format. So first I converted this one into the ASCII, then I passed to the base64, and again I'm converting this one to the ASCII format. Finally, this data will be stored into the bytes. Okay, it will be stored into the normal like strings. It is called the actual string, actual password string, which I am giving now. Okay, let's go and print this. We'll see this, what is going to happen. See, we are actually converted into the string. Okay, so if you want to store tomorrow, right now, you know that the people are not really doing the encryption techniques. Everybody is actually storing the password into the hashing algorithms. This base64 internally use the hashing algorithms to convert the information into this. For example, right now, this password is converted. Okay, this password is converted. It is actually base64 string. So this base64 string I'm going to convert. Instead of saying this actual string, I will say that this is the base64 string, and we can pass to this. I'm going to execute this again. We have this. So I want to convert this base64 thing into the actual my password, whichever I given. So for this, we have a technique called decode. So I'm going to use, see here we are using the encoding technique. You can see here we are using the encode the string. So this is how we are done. So now we are going to do the decoding. So for this, what we can do, this decode is there at the base64. Now I'm going to use this base64 decode. Let me go to this base64. Yes, base64 decode. Now what I want to do, right? Basically, I want to apply this entire string. So is that string we are going to do, or like, are we going to apply the bytes? Basically this data which I'm going to pass. Let's go and apply this data, which will be converted. So I will take all your questions, then we can understand this one very clearly. We can take that base64 is equal to base64 decade. And finally, this will be like a password string format. Say the string bytes. Okay, then after this, we are going to, for example, if you print, what will happen? I will show you the print of this password string bytes, which I'm going to provide. See, I got that whatever I entered previously, but still it is showing in the binary format. So not binary format, it's something showing in the ASCII. So what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to decode into the like ASCII. So password string bytes, these bytes I'm going to decode. So you can pass this same thing. Here you are encoded, here you are going to do decode. So then finally we can keep, this one is the my normal input string. Whatever input string you are giving, that we can provide it here. Then we can print. See, my password is whatever I entered, that password is came back. So that's what. So basically what step we are done. First one, we have the password. So this is called string, which we are taking. This string we are converted into the ASCII format. So ASCII formatted. Okay. So we are done. That's called ASCII formatted. And the ASCII formatted string only I given to that base64. So base64 is actually like taking as input is this one, like ASCII formatted one. So the ASCII formatted string only which is taken up here. And finally we are converted that one. And finally, like when you are encoded that one, if you want to decode, we can use the decode function that can be converted into the decode format. Okay, that's how we can do these steps basically, right? So any questions on from anyone so far on this encoding technique? This we can easily use to implement the like to converting the like if you are using any password into your applications, if you want to do encoding, we can also use this technique. Not only that one, if any sensitive data is also there in your applications, we can easily convert this. Okay, let's go to that very easy example called logging module. So logging.py. So yeah, when you're using the login.py, don't give the same module name, change the module name. If you give the same like predefined module name, you may get some error. I'm changing this one to the logging demo.py. So this is also this import logging. This is also available in the same in the Python. The modules whichever I am telling today, all these modules are available in the Python itself. You don't need to go and download from anywhere. Okay, so you can use this logging module. Let's start using the logging module. It is very simple. For example, let's go with the first, when you're going to create in the logging module dot, so you can use the base configuration. So basically these entire log modules we can store into some file, right? There will be log file will be there, we can store inside that. So for that we have to create a file called file name. So I'm going to use the file name, which is a predefined attribute. So we can define this, which file name you want to create. So I will say that mylogger.info or mylogger.log, whichever the file name you want to create, you can create it here. So after this, and we can use the file name. So file name, which mode you want to know. File mode is equal to write mode. Then new file will be created here. Absolutely, but you have to separate by the comma. So basically, I'm creating the log file. Tomorrow, someone asking to build logging in your project, we can use this technique, how to build the logs. So first, you import the logging, and the second thing is create configuration like this, which file name you want to use, and what is the mode of the file. And the next thing is, and we can create an object here. How to create an object? By using this logging module. There is a class, okay, there is a class we can use, get logger. So I'm going to use the get logger, which is going to help me to create an object. This object will be a logger. Assume that I'm giving the name for this one is the logger. Logger is equal to logging.getLogger. Next, this logger function, whatever it is there. So I'm going to use logger.info. So if there is any information related logs are there, we can store that one into the info. So for example, I can say that this is the info log. Okay, we can keep it like this. For example, similarly, if you have any debug loggers, logger.debug. So if you don't want to run these debug logs in the production environment, then this debug will be disabled. If you want to run these debug logs only in the dev environments, also we can keep it. So debug logs only help you to debug the code during the development stage, not for the production stage. So we are going to use this debug also here, say that this is a debug log. Okay, let me use it. This is a debug log. And also there is something called logger dot and error. Okay, so we can use the logger dot error. So something which is related to error. If something error directly, there is a syntax error or something, some error, some compile error will be there. So then we can log those errors here. So this is something called you are dividing. For example, you are not handling the exceptions. Suddenly there is a you are divided by 0 is came. So this is called like error. Right? If you're not handling the exceptions properly, suddenly there is an error. We can capture those one. And also there is a logger dot, then we can keep something called critical. There is a critical errors, then it will be like for example, suddenly your server is down. Okay, server is down, up and running, suddenly it's up and down. Then in cases we can say that those are very critical errors, right? And last one is the warning errors. For example, if you think, okay, and even though it can be accepted somehow, but we have to provide a warning. So then we can give the warning message by using this is the like a warning log. Okay, this is warning log. I'm going to tell you how to maintain the thresholds here. For example, if you want to go and print this, okay, let me go and print. So print off, then it's very easy to print. So before going to print this, so how can I print? For example, can I go, if I'm going to execute this code, what will happen? So I'm going to execute this simple code. Let's see this, what's going to happen. So let's see this. So there is a log file is created in my system that's called mylogger.log. You can see that all the information is there here, right? The error, critical and warning. The error, critical and warning. If you look at my code, there is a lot of things are there. There is an info, there is a like the error and debug. Why that information is not printing? Right now it's printing the error, then critical, then warning. The error, critical and warning. So why information and debug is not printing? Do you have any idea? Can I keep this info after the debug? Let's go and do this. After the debug, I'm going to place this. Let's see this output of what is the output. Right now I'm seeing that error, critical warning. There is no information. Okay, there is no info log. So let's go and execute this again. And I will check this one. Still it is not working, right? So can you set some logs here? There is a log setting is there. Okay. So logger dot and set level. Okay. So I'm going to set level called logging. That's called, we can put something called logging or whatever the logging model we have it. Okay. We can use this logging model and we can say something called whichever the constant value. We discussed about some constant values. For example, I can say that info. So it should be in the uppercase letters if when you are setting the logs. Okay, let's go and set this and it's going to be executed. Now I'm going to see this. Now info log is coming up. It's how you are setting the logs. For example, when you are sending to the production environment, so don't set like debug logs. So set level is very important. What level stage you want to set the logs. But in the production environment, we don't need debug logs. In test environment, we need all the logs, right? Maybe some environments, this warning logs also not required. So when we can avoid it. So that is one of the reason we discussed in the slide. There are the levels. There is a numbers, set levels, information. So we have to set logs, how it's going to be work. For example, if I'm going to set only critical, let's go and put this critical, like this is in the uppercase, critical. Okay, this is an uppercase. I'm setting the logs. Let's go and execute this and go to the see the output. Only critical log is there, right? So this is very important, guys. When you go for the real-time applications, when you are building the logs, how you can set this, okay? And you've been, for example, you are pushing this entire code to the production environment, and you are going to remove this debug mode. And when you are doing in the pre-production environment, again, debug is not required, right? So we can avoid this information, because otherwise what will happen, right? Your log file may contain all these type of logs, then it will create a lot of memory. Unnecessary memory is going to be wasted, right? So it depends on the stages. We can change these logs and everything, okay? And also, like, if you want to know, there are some other methods also there in the logger. Let's go to the implement this print off. Then we can use logger dot get child. Okay, so if I'm going to say that get child is the function, or like we can leave it as a normal. Okay, get child we can function, we can define, and I'm going to execute this code. Okay, you have to specify this some information, suffix and all. So or else we can leave it as a normal. Okay, and we can keep it as a normal function. Then also we can see that which method it is. So basically there is a root logger is there for everything. There is a root logger which is going to tell you all the information. If you want to know that some more information about the logger, then you can set like this: logger is equal to logging dot and get logger. Okay, and we can set something name like this underscore underscore, and this name module which I'm going to use, and that is going to be printed some data, the print off, and we can use the logger, right? Going to execute this, we'll see that how it's going to work. You can see this, the mainly like when you set the logging here is the critical, the logging is setting the critical. I'm going to change it to the debug. Let's see this, what's going to happen. I'm going to execute the code. Now it is in the debug mode. Basically this entire log you are setting that. Okay, debug mode is there. Now you can ask me the question, hey Raja, I don't want to set any log here. I'm going to leave it as a blank or comment this code. So what is the output of this? If I'm going to execute this, by default, it's going to give the warning, right? By default is the warning. How it's going to be give the warning? Let's go to our keynote. We discussed this one, right? If you can look at this, like first one is the debug, next one is the info, next one is the warning, then error and all. By default, it will go to the warning stage. The warning information is printing. Is that like that? Let's go to the source code. The first one is the debug and info, the error and critical and warning. But the last one we are storing as the warning. That's why reason we are getting the warning. It does not mean like it's the default value. For example, I'm going to change this line number 17 to the before line number 16. Going to execute the code. Then still we are seeing the warning. So what does it mean like? So if you go to back to the code, and the slider is talking about levels. Debug is 10, information is 20, warning is 30, error is 40, critical is 50. So the way like when you are not setting anything, that by default will go to the warning stage. That's how we are seeing the output, right? We are not done anything here. But for example, Heraja, I don't want to see the output like this. I want to format, okay? I told you that logging is also having something called format. We can use the format. Okay, the format is equal to, you can type in the double quotes or like single quotes, whatever you think. Okay, then we can type like this. For example, you want to time when the log is executed. Generally we need a time, right? So we can go for the percentile. Then there is a like, we can use that time modules. Then we can implement this ASC, time ascending time of this S. Okay, and after that you want to format, give the hyphen symbol, then again percentile. So then we can give the name, okay, which log you are referring to. It's called S. So it's nothing but formatting the strings in Python. And also, like, you can go to the next level, the percentile, then you can give the which level you are talking about. Okay, give the name of the call level name. So what is this I'm giving now? These are all predefined data, which is not like you are defining it, which is already there in the Python. If you want to format the log, then we can give this such information. Finally, I want to print message, then give the percentile. So inside the bracket, then go for the message. So then the close that, yes, right? Let's go and execute this. And finally, you can put the comma, because these are the three attributes. One is the file name, which is predefined. Format is also predefined. File mode is also predefined. Now you just have a look before going to run this code. I have this output. Now I want this output with the date and time. That's the reason in the logging module, I actually mentioned the time and the name, the level name, and the message. Let's go and execute this code. Now it's successfully executed. If you go to my system, okay, it's something which is not coming. Do you know why? The format which is not coming? The format which we are trying to print, which is not coming up, its reason is, so for example, if you look at this, the first percentile, this ascending time, we are giving this, that is S, and the percentile name of S, and the percentile level name, and the percentile message. But basically in the output, I want to see with this data, okay? I want to see every time I'm writing this file. It's not overriding, not in the read mode, it is in the write mode. I'm actually writing every time the file. So after that, we have the logger. We are checking the logger functions. After that, we are debugging it, information, error, everything is there. Can I set the log here? Just let it be for time being, set the log. And finally, like print of log dot get child and the logger dot get logger and all, it's printing it. So you can leave it this for time being, controls S. Generally the program which I'm going to execute this case. Now, if I'm going to execute this, what's going to happen? Server is down. Okay, why server is down is coming up in this code. Basically, okay, we are implementing the basic configuration. There is a critical server is down, line number 18. It's because of any spelling mistake or something. No, right? Okay, let me go to this, and critical server is down, the message server is down, argument is down. Okay, let it be. I'm going to clear the text and execute the text again. Okay, there is something comma or something which I missed out somewhere, like logger dot set level, debug info error, and this is also fine. This is also fine, and we don't want this basically. Okay, for example, if I remove this line, I'm going to execute this. Okay, it's going to warning. There is something which I missed out. Okay, so I will talk about, I will see this. The file name, file logger, format, which is I'm giving perfectly all right. And the name is there. These are all like formatting the strings basically. We are using it. There is no ASCII here. Something like debug. ASCII spelling check. Where am I? I'm not using any ASCII here. It is ASC time, ascending time. The basically like I'm using the S. Okay, let's put this entire line, just remove it. Let's see this, what's happening here. Let's go to the back. It's actually issue with the formatting. Okay, what I did mistake in the formatting, the percentile, ASC time, percentile name is, it's a level name only. Okay, here I'm not used the formatting of S, that's the reason, right? So I have to use the S, then go to this. I think definitely it should work now. And we'll go to this. This is what I want to show that, okay, little issue are there. But anyway, we got the output, right? So basically what I'm saying that if you want to show the output like this, okay, and in your log file, then we can go for the formatting the time. And what is the next ones? Root is nothing but like the one which you are specifying the name. Tomorrow it may be your project name, then level name and messages. So we can give all these details. Okay, then when you want to work on the specific things, like if you want to explore the things, then we can use this one. Okay, so we can define the different logs. I'm sure that every project is going to use the log. Without log, I don't think so any project is having. Every project is using the logs. We can use the logging like this: debug log, info log. The format, see, you can ask me the question, hey Raj, it is there in the .log file. Can you create in the .txt file? Let's go now, the mylogger.txt file. I'm going to execute this code. So you can see that mylogger.txt is executed, right? We can create different files also. Logger we can create, txt file also we can create. This can be works like this. So logging is very important, right, to build the projects and to see the outputs. Maybe tomorrow you use the different frameworks. That frameworks also internally is implemented by the Python logging module only, right? So this is very important module which I'm exploring. I mean, I'm just giving an idea like how to implement this. And also there is something called logging.exception. For example, let's go to this very simple example I'm going to take and finish it. So there is a is equal to 5 and the b is equal to 0. Then we can say that a try block. So in Python we can use the try block. So inside the try block there is a c is equal to a by b, and that is a 5 divided by 0. There will be 0 division error will come. So what I'm going to do, right, I'm going to accept here. So exception block, and inside this, so I'm going to call this exception by using the logging. So logging dot, and we can say that exception. So in this exception, I can pass some data. If there is any exceptions, I can exception. So I can call this as well. For example, if I'm going to execute this code, okay, do you see any error here? If I'm going to execute this error, do you see any error? No. Let's give something like this. Except, sorry, c is equal to a by b. Okay, we can give this one, or else we can define the exception here as e. We can say that if you want to print off e also can be printed. So I'm trying to log these values, and there is the exception is caught into this place. Let's go and run this code again. So you can see this in .txt file that the previously this exception I have changed it to this one. Normally, if I'm not going to remove, if I remove this e value, if I execute this, I will see that exception inside the log files. So we can also capture the exceptions into the log file as well. Okay, there's something, right? So this is not really possible in other languages, and Python has this feature. We can bring all these exceptions into the logger files by using the logging module. Okay, that's something which you know it. It's really useful, right, when you are actually working on these kind of problems, right? So that's where like exception we can bring into the file also. And similarly, we have the different module names. Like as I said, like we have the module name called the statistics. I'm going to use the statistics. It's a very simple module. So stats.py, and which is important for the like data science people. Import statistics. It is also predefined module in the Python. We can use, for example, print of. Okay, for example, I will take one list. A is equal to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something, some redundant data also you can take it up. Okay, if you want to print the mean value, then go for the print of statistics dot then mean value. So mean of, then you can pass a. So let's go and execute this. We'll get the output is 14.33. This is the mean value. Similarly, we can calculate the fast mean, f mean. So f mean is also, we'll get the same output only, but this is very faster way at the back end. The faster way of implementation. This is introduced in the 3.8 version, but of course in the future they are going to remove this normal mean from the Python world, right? So this statistics module they introduced it from the 3.4 version, and I mean before, if you are working on the before 3.3, it's not going to work. So if you want to know the standard deviation of this, you can also use the statistics dot std standard deviation. You can pass the a, then you'll get the standard deviation also, right? So and also population standard deviation is the PSTV, then also you'll get this PSDV. So like population is the data is actually in the statistics. We can take the data is in the two forms. One is the population data, the another one is the population data, in the sense it's a complete data basically in the simple sentence. And the next one is the sample data, which is like some portion of the data only you can take it up, then we can use and implement this, right? So we can use the statistics for both the purposes. So when you want to implementing these kind of things basically, right? That's how it works basically. So not only this one, there are like, if you want to find out the mode, so print of statistics and dot mode also we can pass. The mode also can be taken. Mode is nothing but the like the value which is like in the middle, like which is the commonly acquired 2, right? And also we can take something called print of statistics dot, and there is a something called median. So median also can be taken of this. So it is basically like, generally the data science people and machine learning people, they use the module called NumPy and SciPy. In the SciPy, there is a submodule is called statistics. Okay, the submodule is called the statistics in SciPy, which is very popular for the machine learning and okay. So we can use the like NumPy, SciPy, and pandas to implement this statistics also. Okay. But if you are not going for third-party tools, then we have the statistics module in Python. We can use it. This is one of the things we can go for it, right? So just keep in your mind, these are the programmings, we can use it a lot. So let's go for the collections model, which is very important in the interviews. Let's go with this collections underscore demo. And I'm going to take you only 1 or 2 examples, then I will stop. Okay. So example, so if I want to implement collections, you can go to this collections and import. There are like different modules are there, like the counter is one class, we can take it. Or like if you want to implement the DQ is also there, and default dictionary is also there. Okay, default dictionary also there. So these are all like the functionalities are there in the collections we can use. For example, we have a list. Okay, you take very simple list. Okay, let's go with this simple list. So list name is list example, list x is equal to, inside this list I will say something like this a, and after this comma, then we can keep b, again go for the b, and again go for the a, something like this, again go for the b. So let's go with the counter now. Okay, I want to count of these values. So we'll use that print of, then counter is my class. Inside the class, I'm going to pass the list x. So what is the list x? It's like duplicates also there. I want to find the counter. So let's go and clear this text and go and execute this code. We'll get the like, so b is 3 times and a is 2 times. We can easily use this counter class to find how many number of times item is repeatedly came, how many times of item is exist in the given text. That's very easy way of doing with these counters basically, right? Okay, so that's where like we can implement this very easy way. Okay, and we can do it. So even there is an order dictionary. For example, let's go with very simple example of order dictionary. Order dictionary is also there in this. Okay, so order dictionary is actually like, it's a class, it starts with uppercase letter. So order dictionary we can take, and what we can do with this order dictionary, for example, I have one dictionary. Let me take one simple dictionary. Let's call d is equal to some empty dictionary. So d is equal to empty dictionary. So where I'm going to add some values. How to add dictionary values? You can take this way. We can use the key a is equal to 1 and d of now ae.
It's 10 o'clock.
So ae, okay, then we can take the value is 2. Okay, then d of then we can take something called f, something like this, 3. So I'm adding the 3 values like this. So for example, if I go to the print of this for, okay, let's go to this for key, okay, comma value, and in d dot items basically. So if you want to get both the keys and values, you can go for the d dot items, then print of key comma values, right? This is one you already know it. Okay, nothing is new in this case. If you want to print the value, just go and execute this. You'll get the a is 1, e is 2, f is 3. Basically this is the dictionary which is stored. If you want to print a dictionary after this, let's go to this print of d, We'll get all these values. But what is the default dictionary can do here? What is the order dictionary can do here? Let's go to this. Like we can bring the order of this one. For example, if I create an object for order dictionary, so order dictionary is a class. You can create an object for this. That order dictionary object name is called O. Okay, so like obj, I can say that object reference I'm creating for order dictionary. So let's go and see this how I'm going to create. So obj is equal to, then we can see this, I'm creating the a. Okay, so here also I'm saying that a is equal to 1. Everything I'm going to take, I'm going to change it to the like obj, then it's easily understandable. Same code only, that is a normal dictionary, this is order dictionary which I'm creating now. So let's go to this obj. So this is done. Now I want to print this same the key value pair, whatever way I have done. Let's go to this for, then key comma value in, then the obj. So obj is my dictionary, which is order dictionary. I'm going to print items colon the print of key comma value. So we can use the key comma value. Let's see this, what is the output of this, right? So do you see any differences here? Do you see any differences here? Am I printing this value? I'm not printing this value, right? Print of t, which is I'm printing here. Let's remove this. Okay, print of d, anyway, this value is there. What is the differences? Do you see any differences here? So I'm going to execute this code. Okay, then just 1 second. So order dictionary, do you see any differences? For example, if I change this order to 4, I'm going to execute this code, that is a printing as is only. So what is the purpose of order dictionary? What is the use of this one? When you want to build this one, what is the purpose of order dictionary? Order dictionary is also subclass of dictionary, but unlike dictionary, it remains the order which the keys are inserted. So how we are inserted the keys, it's always we remember. Okay, how we are inserting the keys, it is always remember. That's where it works basically, right? So in the previous we have taken the empty dictionary. Now we have taken the different dictionary to maintain the like a different order basically, right? So that's where we can use this order dictionary. So it should always remember the keys, how the keys can be works. The default dictionary, which is can be initialized using the default dictionary. It is also kind of a class. We can pass the data to as an argument. Okay, let me take another example of this default dictionary. So let's go to this default dictionary. So in this case, default dictionary create something called d is equal to, so default dictionary, that is I'm not, okay, it's already imported. So I'm going to use this default dictionary here. In this default dictionary, let's pass something called integer. Okay, and we say that it is a d, and after this, and we can take something called list ex, sorry, instead of saying that list numbers num, and I will give some numbers like this 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma and 4 comma, then finally we can give 2 and 4 and 1 and 2, some numbers which I am providing in the list numbers. Then we'll use the for loop for I in, and we'll go for the, this is called list numbers, which is smallest letter list name, which I'm going to use. And finally we'll say like this, so d of I, okay, it's a default dictionary which I'm going to create, and you can give the plus symbol is equal to, you can increment the values. And finally, can I print of d in the outside of the for loop? Let's go to this print of d. So if I'm going to execute this, I'm creating the default dictionary. I can create this one, all integers which I created. Actually, I passed the list. List is 1, 2, 3, 4, something, some values which I passed. Then I got the default dictionary. So 1, 2, 2, 3, and 4, and 3, 1, and 4, 2, which is created basically. How this is created? Any guess from you? Anybody of you can be tell me how this can be created? So we have the list numbers. Then I created here by using the class int comma. I'm passing, these are all integers, okay, and all integers I passed. Now, for example, don't give all these values. I'm going with just 1, 2, 3, 4. Then execute this code. we'll get the 1 1 2 1 3 1 4 1. So when I give the 4 value, and if I go into execute this, you get the 1 1 2 1 3 1, but 4 is the 2 times. When I give the 4 comma 4 and I execute again, there are 3 4s. The 4 is coming in the 3 times. So default dictionary will be created. For example, I'm going to give the 3's again. So let's go into execute is 3 is 2 times. Okay. So by default dictionary is created, but the logic is this one. For example, instead of 1, shall I say 2 here, and I'm going to execute this, what is happening? So 1 colon 2, every time this 1 is added. So basically you are doing the incrementing the value of this one. Basically you are adding the plus 2. So first one is the 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, and next to 2 plus 2. Like that, it's the value is adding, final output is 4 plus 2 is the 6, then final output is printed. We need to be careful what value. If you want to create any default dictionaries, we can use a default class. Okay. So collections, you can go and study. There is something called name it tuple also there. So when you have some time, you can go and study this name it tuple. There are so many classes are there. This is one of the data structures we can use. There is a double-ended queue. If you want to see, generally when you use the dictionary, you can insert only one side. If you want to insert both the sides, we can go for the double-ended queue. Okay, that's where this can be used to apply the programming. Okay. So please practice this code, which is going to help you a lot. These collections, logging, and statistics and encoding techniques are which are very useful when you do some programming in your projects. Okay, it may help you somehow. So that's what I can say that. Okay, so I experienced that most of the projects in my current projects that we are using the collections and logging. Collections and logging we are using a lot. When there is a need of Django projects, and especially you are applying on the user's perspective, then we can use this base64. Okay, that's all about the practical examples. I'm just giving an idea, like basic idea. You can, if you are interested on these models, please explore it a lot. You'll get more idea like how we can use it. Do you have any questions, guys, before going to wind up?